Welcome to Return on Insights, the show where candid conversations with bold founders and leaders spark actionable insights for your business. I'm David Lindover.
And I'm Erin Abatangelo. Each week, we pull back the curtain with leaders who are scaling teams and shaping the future, sharing the insights that create impact far beyond the bottom line.
Discover how high-performing companies build enduring cultures, inspire teams to think bigger, and turn vision into action. If you see storytelling as your strategic advantage, you're in the right place. Welcome to Return on Insights podcast. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Ceccorulli. He's the Credit and Collections Manager at Latacrete. Andrew's going to discuss how even large, established companies can unlock major gains by replacing outdated manual AR and collections processes with digital automation. He shares firsthand how automation streamlines operations, reduces costs, and frees teams to focus on customer relationships, proving that digital transformation and empathy can go hand in hand in B2B collections. He brings over 20 years of experience in credit and collections with a strong track record leading digital transformation at Latacrete and other organizations. He's recognized for building efficient, customer-focused teams and for his expertise in applying technology to solve real-world business challenges. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and we're looking forward to your very informative answers.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
What are the top two challenges you've seen with legacy debt recovery systems and manual processes in B2B collections, even at large organizations?
This is a ongoing thing I see in my industry with my peers. It's not exclusive to small business or large companies. Some of the biggest issues, the first one being even at really healthy companies with healthy collections processes, the manual aspect of the credit and collections processes really becomes too cumbersome, not scalable, starts to bog down the team. And especially if your company is aggressive and wants 10% growth year over year with sales, you are not going to keep up with your processes that are manual if you're keeping a lean team, right? If you're going to keep overhead costs down. So running these large aging reports, creating these crafted lists of customers to contact and who's going to be contacting them on which portfolio of customers, making those phone calls, chasing those phone calls with follow-up emails, all those activities go away as soon as you have some kind of AR automation tool or software. That's especially fully integrated with your ERP, because now all the new data that gets created by our ERP, it flows seamlessly right through to your AR software. That software communicates with your customer base. You get visibility. And then when you talk about the invoice delivery, the confirmation of the delivery, the customer view feedback, and then on top of it, reminders, dunning notices, that's the work of 3 to 5 people happening daily without the question of, is this process working? And so when you talk about a challenge, the challenge with big organizations and B2B collections is, how do we shift from doing what we do every day that works just fine to jumping into this automation? And it's a massive undertaking, right? You have to have all your teams aligned. But if you don't, you're going to fall behind the scale really quickly. And so this is not, in this day and age, a nice to have. It's a necessity. You have to move forward with the scalable technology integration aspect of it. The second part of that, to be candid, is bad habits, right? You have people who've been there for a long time doing a really great job, veteran collectors. You have these legacy behaviors. Even sometimes they have a personal connection with your customer, and the calls become kind of recreational, or they get into the habit of talking about very personal things and forget that this is business. And then it makes it blurred boundaries of, you need to pay us now, or we can't move your new business along. It kind of gets muddy, and getting those individuals to jump into the automation aspect and then use their time wisely to make the personal contact, it's a hard thing to separate. So, and if you talk about credit reporting and that aspect of credit collections, it is so manual. The technology is just starting to emerge where you can start to trust the AI and the machine learning aspect of it, but it's so gut based and trade reference based and this personal aspect that it's hard to bring that into the automation digital technology world.
Can you share a specific example of how digital transformation, such as automation in collections, cadence, and communications, has changed your team's workflows and outcomes at Latacrete?
Yeah, 100%. And we did have resistance.
Hmm.
I came from a software company that was cutting edge all the time with new, implementations and new launches of software. And I came to Latacrete where everything was working very well, but they were probably 5 to 10 years behind in terms of digital transformation and technology in the accounting space specifically. And so we had some automation where, invoices were generated, they're emailed automatically from our ERP to whoever's the contact in the system, but we had no idea if they were delivering. We had no clue if they were being opened or viewed. We had no idea if there was bounce emails. Um, and then we had no automation for reminders. There were no dunning notices. There were no statements, anything like that. So we started right off the bat with, we didn't have a budget. I was brand new. I couldn't get a new software purchase. So I went to IT and said, hey, there's a native functionality in our ERP system where you can send like a delinquency notice. You click a button. If it meets the criteria, it sends out a notice to whoever's the invoice contact, which was great. And it did yield some results, but we had, again, no idea if it was delivering, no idea if, there was an open rate, if it was a bad email address. So as soon as we went to using a collaborative AR software and went through the whole implementation and the launch and the customer adoption, marketing campaigns and everything else, instantly the first day it was, we've sent 3,000 invoices, one bounced. And we said, that can't be right. That's way too successful. And we go and look at the activity and we can actually see at what time it was delivered and what time the customer opened. We spot checked hundreds of them and they were all accurate. And we said, wow, that's great, because the number one trick in collections is I didn't get my invoice, right? That's the first thing you hear. So instantly we knew that we were delivering thousands of invoices. They were being opened. Customers couldn't pretend that we didn't know they saw the invoice. Now you've broken down this distrust wall. You've got integrity and transparency. Then we have the next day we set up our automatic notices. Reminder before the due date, reminder on the due date, reminder after the due date, and then the automatic statement. 1st of the month, 15th of the month, all with visibility. As soon as an invoice doesn't deliver, especially on a new customer, we stop everything, hold the orders, contact the customer. We couldn't get our invoice to you, which means you don't have access to our portal, which means you can't pay us promptly. So we're not sending you any new material. It stopped all of this smoke and mirrors and what's happening behind the scenes. It takes the sales rep out of the equation. They don't have to worry about, who their contact is and if they're valid. Everything comes to us real time. Now we know that every invoice is delivered in some way up to 4 times during a 30 to 40 day period. The customer knows we know the customer knows. It's all transparent. And then we get notifications when it doesn't work. We address it that very morning. There's no snowballing. And the time saved is exponential. There is no chasing our tails anymore. Even customers who have like EDI invoice delivery, they access the portal to make sure that all the invoices in the list were delivered to their EDI receptacle. Now my team isn't chasing these unknowns. Now they focus on who's the priority and how do we add the personal touch, right?
Yeah, those are great examples. Excuse me. Care to take a guess at the time savings or the amount of time that you might save in a week across your portfolio of people?
Yeah, so we did some analysis early on as like an ROI proving point with our partner for the AR automation, because they gave us an estimated ROI that they calculated, which was pretty helpful in getting the RFP, solidified. But early on, the unknown portion we couldn't quantify. How did we not know how many invoices were being delivered? And we had enough examples in my first year here where there'd be a big customer who said, hey, it's November and I have this chunk of $200,000 you're showing on your statement to me that is 30 to 60 days past due. I never got it. And that happened 3 or 4 times in a 6-month period where that alone is dollar saving, time saving that we know now it's gone. It's never going to happen again, no matter what. So that's one that we couldn't put a real number on quantifying the time, but we know it's zero error, right? The time lost is zero now. Um, for the first contact, which is now pre-collections, right? The notice 7 days before due date. My team was never doing that before. So we've already gained 7 days for the first contact reminder and pre-collections. The reminder on the due date never happened. So we've gained that time savings as well. And the reminder 5 days after, my team was trained before I got here to not even contact until it's 30 days past due. So right off the bat, we're 30 days ahead of schedule, 37 days if you count the pre-collection, 30-day reminder, 25-day early reminder. We're hitting all these benchmarks that are all time savings beyond where we were before.
Right.
And then even my most veteran collector, who was very hesitant to adopt the technology, finally came back 6 months later and said, "You're right. It all made my job so much better. I can't believe how much time I wasted, doing these very tedious, mundane processes. I was burning out. I didn't even realize I was burning out. Now I love coming in and using this automation and this technology. And if I'm calling a customer, it's either with good news or to resolve a problem that I can really be a help to. And all this other stuff is just a savings across the board." So, we've quantified that it probably is doing the job of 3 people on a daily basis. And then the people who were doing really mundane tasks have adopted new responsibilities, and they're doing much more value added outreach. Hard to put a number on that besides three or four human, work weeks, basically.
Yep. No, but those are good examples.
Yeah.
We can use our imagination to figure out what the
Right,
savings
right.
are. So many companies fear that automation will erode the human element in collections, which you just talked about earlier. How do you ensure that empathy and strong customer relationships, without crossing the line, remain central even as you digitize processes?
That was a big roadblock when I was trying to, procure some AR automation software, even within my own team. We're a family company with family values. Our customers are our lifeline. They're our family members too. We can't become robots and just turn everything to automation. That's not going to work for our type of business and our customers and what they expect. And it definitely did have some, negative feedback with our customer base who said, "I used to hear from John Smith every week. What's going on? Why am I getting all these emails from the robot system?" But what we did was a lot of outreach beforehand with all the key positive takeaways presented in the front end. We built our own training videos, a 5-minute training video using screen shares and professional narrators, and a QR code and outreach so that customers could watch this before the portal launched and understand how easy it was. We ensured them that you can reach all of us anytime. We're not going away. We made sure that they understood if they used the comment or communication feature in the portal, that got to us even faster than the way they were now. And we backed up what we said. If they submitted a claim or dispute through the portal, that instantly got sent to the appropriate team to be addressed. And the resolution was within 24 hours, where the old way might have taken 3 to 5 days, maybe 6 days. So we proved to them right off the bat, you can reach us faster and we can get information to you faster. So there's still the human component there right away, but the data is better, the integrity is better, the trust will grow as we go forward. But of course, you're never going to get paid as a guarantee just by sending out thousands of reminders. There's no data out there or science out there that says if you just keep blasting people with automation, they'll pay their bills on time. So we quickly learned that the human element has to remain. Very similarly, how people were terrified that AI would bring in robotics, and now surgeons are gone and nurses are gone and teachers are gone. It can't happen, especially not overnight, because you need that human with empathy or sympathy or compassion to still have a real component of human interaction. And it's no different with credit collections. You still have to call, Bob at Bob's Tiles and say, "Hey, what's going on? We've sent you all these reminders. You're opening them, but there's no payment." And Bob says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My kid's been in the hospital." On top of that, we had a terrible windstorm. The power went down. Trucks weren't coming for deliveries. No customers were coming in. On top of it, mail didn't come. The checks weren't being delivered. Yes, we still take paper checks, even though you guys aren't anymore. It's just been one thing after another. And we say, we totally understand, but communicate with us. We'll give you an extra 30 days for all your open invoices right now. But let us note the account. We've got compassion. We totally understand. Without you, we can't keep selling to your area, obviously. We saw this in my past companies as well, where we did projects of like proactive collections outreach, partnered with quality assurance teams. Hey, our service isn't connecting properly. Or we realize that your service with us isn't connecting properly. We're doing an outreach to figure out what's going wrong. Yeah, it hasn't worked in 3 weeks. Well, we noticed you paid your invoice anyway. I know, I'm really upset about that. I'm paying you and my service still isn't working. Let's get that rectified now. We found that even a touch for a negative situation turned into a positive win tenfold increases the positive reaction from the customer. It increases the renewability of the contracting. It increases future sales. It makes them more likely to contact you in the future as a point of sale contact for them. We can turn negative situations and credit collections into very positive ongoing relationships by maintaining the human element, but let the automation do all the robotic mundane stuff that you don't need a human to send an invoice. That's in 2025, there's no reason for it anymore.
That's very compelling. So what advice do you give other credit and collections leaders who are still hesitant, and there are many of them, I'm sure, to move away from manual or legacy systems? And where should they start?
Candidly, right? This is a thing that does happen. It helps to have someone on your leadership team sponsor the project, especially someone in the technology division who maybe is getting pressure to have a digital transformation or a modernization of their technologies. I was very lucky that our CIO, CTO sponsored the project right away. Partially selfishly, they wanted to have a really big win on their side. As well, they had to dedicate their IT team hours and resources that year to the project, right? I had to win them over. So I had to pitch to them before I even pitched to my CFO or my president or CEO or even my own supervisor. I had to really make sure IT was on board, as they had to do a lot of the heavy lift. And this comes up on sales all the time. If you're selling a software product, you have to win over the customer IT before you win over the person writing the check. And so I was really lucky that the project lead for my IT team was an expert in our ERP, a former expert in AR. So they specifically knew what I was dealing with. They also have a background in development and coding and writing, project structure. So when we got together and talked SQL data and the outputs and pairing that with, what was the requirement for accounting data out to the software, it was so easy. I think we were aligned with our data output by week 2 of the project.
Wow.
Which was like 3 months ahead of schedule compared to what the average buyer was doing in that software. So the first resistance you're going to face is buy-in from leadership and technology teams. You have to clear that hurdle, or you're going to go into the project, even if you have the buy-in for the budget, you're going to go into a project blind, fall behind schedule, and it's going to be perceived as a failure before it even hits the ground. The second part is your veteran employees on your team having resistance to the technology, and they are your leaders on your team, right? They're doing the bulk of the work there. And in the industry, they all talk to each other. They're in a lot of trade network groups. How do you convince them that bringing technology will help them do their job better and not replace them? And if they don't adapt and adopt the process and move with it, they very well may be replaced. So you have to be honest with them about the fact that this is the evolution that's occurring now. As an organization, if we are not on track with this type of digital transformation and automation, we are falling behind and our competitors will outgun us. And I want you to be part of this movement and this team, and I will help you, move into the next phase of your career by learning these new skills and making your day-to-day job so much easier by not having to do so much manual lift. It removes the unknowns of who does what. Why does your team not know this is a problem? Is everything being addressed? These are real questions leaders and CFOs and CEOs will ask a collections team and say, is anyone doing this? How is this being handled? Now you're making sure that your senior collectors or your veteran employees are never caught off guard. They always know that's handling that. It's all good. And here's my list of the 20 customers I'm calling today that really need me, and I will make sure that they're on track. So not only are you convincing leadership, not only are you convincing the budget holders, you have to convince your own team that this is the right move. And if you can do that, you're going to find that the whole buy-in process for the implementation goes so much smoother because now they're the users learning the skills. They'll train other people on how to use it. They're going to train your customers when they're adopting and logging in for the first time. These are all, snowball effect in a positive way.
Very sound advice. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Looking ahead, last question. The
Sure.
emerging technologies or practices you believe will have the biggest impact on B2B AR and collections in the next few years, and why?
Yeah. It's a great question. I consider myself kind of on the front line of technology implementation, probably from my background at a software company and in credit collections. But since coming here, I've been given some runway to kind of launch more of these. So as soon as we had the AR automation software successfully implemented, and I was told it was the most successful project that's ever been implemented here with instant, ROI yield, I said, I want a new partnership. And so I found a credit software partner to kind of become a design partner with. I became a design partner with future releases for our AR automation software. So I really kind of jump in because I know if I dedicate some amount of time now to the new technologies, I'll get a bigger return later when they become live and active. So when I talk to my peers out there in this industry and what's the next phase of AR and collections, I think there's several technologies that are going to be key, and what vendor you choose, that's up to you and how you use them. But I think the collaboration of those technologies into a centralized AR landing point is the key. So for instance, if you can use a really great credit reporting tool to get you better data from the jump to verify your customer prospect, give a good credit recommendation, get faster trade references and a digitized credit application, now you've got a great starting point to determine the credit worthiness of your new customer. And if you can use that before they even become a customer to give sales a better bandwidth or spectrum of this is high risk, low dollar, or green light all the way, high dollar, let's move. It gives them a lot more confidence and leeway to do their job better because they know you're supporting the decisions they're making. You've already given them the threshold. Then if you connect that when the customer becomes a valid customer with the AR automation software, they get their invoice faster, they got it. They are being reminded to pay on term. You can contact them faster if they go past due. You remind them you're a brand new customer, your credit limit is at risk if you don't pay on time. You're not going to get a bad habit like you may have gotten with someone who's been a customer for 20 years before your automation. So now you've got better credit reporting and a better customer using a more cash advantageous automation tool. Then you start with the implementation of better and more personalized collections communications. Your team now is focusing their efforts on the personal side to make sure these customers know there's still people watching, there's still people who remember their name, that care about their success as a company. And then you can bring in technologies that trigger cadences of those communications that are the automated cadences. If you can personalize your automations as well, they don't sound like they're coming from a robot. You might be able to have 20 different templates through a cadence technology that says on week 2 or week 4 follow-up, use one of these 3 templates and alternate them. And now your collectors are using they wrote out that script, but it's coming in a variance from the automation. Now you're getting a human touch with the technology on the repetition. You can control it by customer groupings or the collector portfolio or the credit terms or maybe even the region geographically where they are or the product lines. If someone's more profitable on their purchases of products, make sure they're paying on time because you'll get more kickback on your EBITDA and your revenue, right? And then if you pair all of that with rebate monitoring and using a great rebate tool, now you can push all your credit and collections data to allow your customer and your sales teams to be aligned with Are they purchasing what they should to hit the quota and goal for the year to get a better rebate back at the end? And can they maintain that purchase level and still pay us on time? And now you get to play the tightrope game of how much more can they purchase to hit the number? How is that going to impact our DSO and our ADP and our collections metrics if they don't pay it on time? What is the risk we're willing to take to make sure the numbers hit this year without curbing us for next year? When you start putting all these into one view, which my team is actually doing right now, we're putting data in front of our leadership teams, and they're saying we've never seen it this way together in one place. And when you put that in front of the customer, now the customer says, oh, the smoke cleared. I can't pretend anymore that I don't know what the situation is. Or you use that as a positive and say, hey, we're seeing trends that maybe you aren't even aware of. Your numbers aren't going the right way. We want to help you. We can give you some better terms on these purchases that'll really boost your rebate plan and get you on track. But this other stuff, low-hanging fruit, you got to pay that faster. It's really hurting your account with us. It looks bad. We can't give you good trade references based on this stuff. So you've got to work with us and we'll help you more. So for me, that's where I see the B2B, AR and collections automations technologies all coming together. It's not just collections. It's not just cash application. It's start to end, order to cash with the customer relationship maintenance the entire way. And how do you turn that into boosting sales? And how do you maintain the positive relationship with your customer through that whole thing?
Great views. Really appreciate it. Fantastic insights for our viewers, and appreciate your time, Andrew, and hope to talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thanks.